I don't know what this world is coming to, but Myron Gaines is at it again. Recently, he was at the University of California. I don't know why they would have him on his campus, and he was, I guess, working, speaking on behalf of an organization, Uncensored America, where he was in there. And He was talking to members of the LGBT community, feminist groups, different variations of people from all over, and they were discussing topics. And one of the main topics that was in discussion was Black American culture. Now, I don't know why this man that's an African is here speaking on Black American culture. Now, the small hat community, if you speak up on them in the wrong way, it's considered anti-Semitism. But anybody can say anything to us, and we had a 400 years of oppression here on this land. How come these people can come and just say anything about us, and there's not a system in place that will punish them? Right? Because our image have never been protected. But this is what he was saying, this immigrant was saying on the University of California. Check it out.
She's confirming the stereotypes,
You should be disappointed in yourself. I don't want to go home and think about the people you are disrespecting in this building. And that's why your teeth.
Look at the loud black women.
You're black too. Yeah, look at your skin.
Now this guy's an immigrant that fled his country, right? You know, there's a lot of degenerate stuff that goes on in his country that listen, that they don't like to talk about, right? But for some reason, he comes here and he just denigrates black people. And he talks about black culture, but not American culture, right? But Tariq Nasheed, him and Tariq Nasheed been going back and forth for years. And Tariq Nasheed took to social media in the past and he said this about Myron.
Musty Myron was up here talking real greasy, talking about black folks and crime and we're this, and then you had some suspected white supremacists in the audience walking up asking questions like, "Oh God, us whites are being attacked," and then Myron started getting into some scientific racism, talking about black people with low IQs and all this old stuff. So, this is orchestrated by the white supremacists. Let's be very clear. When they use these non-black mouthpieces to spew their rhetoric for them, that's their way of shielding themselves from accusations of racism. See, when they get these melanated tethers like Myron Gaines, they can hide behind his identity, you see. So he can say things that they would be publicly condemned for. So they turn him into a human shield for their talking points. See, that's why tethers like that ain't worth shit. They know how to weaponize that immigrant anti-FBA sentiment. They know that a lot of these foreigners and refugees harbor contempt for foundational black Americans, and they exploit that. You see, they groom these people to try to undermine us.
Now, I know that we're lied to and we made them believe that we're inside this racial utopia, but this country is very much still divided. I know we have the internet where the races have more contact with each other than we ever saw, but one thing that has never changed is the education system and the way we've been conditioned to view each other. So you still have a lot of racism. It's just not out as upfront as it used to be, but it's starting to come again with, the person we have in office, right? So there was this young white man. He stood up and he spoke. And he said some things that was very polarizing, but it was his opinion based off of his education level. He got up there and he said this.
Real incident I want to talk about is what happened in Frisco, Texas about a month ago, which was the murder of Austin Metcalf by Carmelo Anthony. And why has Donald Trump not said a single word about this issue? How long are we going to let white people be murdered in the streets before we do something? I am tired of this.
See, I see some of you guys are laughing, but the reality is if it was the other way around, you guys would be burning down the city, if we're going to be honest here, right? Got the black one in the back screaming and laughing at him.
And I don't want to make this look like
hold
I'm
on. Let me, because this is the thing, because a couple of the people here are laughing at your rage, but I find it interesting that if it was the other way around, they can burn down a city like Minneapolis over George Fentanyl, but if he goes ahead and expresses some rage, you guys laugh at him, which is interesting to me because they can't be honest about this, where there is seriously a problem in America where a small percentage of people are committing a majority of the violent crime. What? Black men account for maybe 8% of the population, but they're committing something like 50 to 60% of the violent crime, and they can't talk about this, right? So I do think that there's a problem here where we need to address black culture. We need to address the degeneracy. We got to address the violent gang and rap culture. And it's an issue. And the thing is that, guys like him can't speak up about it. He speaks up about it, and then we got black girls in the back laughing at him. But, when they kill a black man, y'all are rioting all over the place and burning cities down, and nobody says anything to you guys.
So he's talking about all of the things that's happening to whites in this country. And Myron is responding that if it was flipped around the other way, we would burn cities down. He he talked about the black women in the back that's laughing, and the guy was saying that why haven't the president spoke on this, and these W people are being hurt by black people, and this has to stop. But and Myron said some very crazy things, right? Because this is Myron Gaines. First of all, did y'all see them boots he had on his feet, them shoes, right? Listen, but mind you, Myron is African, but he's here speaking on behalf of black culture. What do we have in place to protect us from these kind of people? Nothing. But if there's a certain group of people you better not say nothing about. There's another group of people you better not say nothing about. But the young man wasn't finished. He doubled down and he said this.
I have a follow up to that. You talking about this is kind of like a socioeconomic thing, a culture thing. Well, if that's true, why have the crime rates kind of stayed the same since the 60s, since the civil rights movement, even before rap music? Speaking on that rap music, why doesn't rap music make white people go just murder people in the streets? Is this a culture thing, or is this just simply a race issue?
There's a couple things. Now, this is going to be very controversial, but it's an IQ thing too. Yeah. It's an IQ thing, and this is what's banned a lot of the times. That I got to we're on YouTube, so I'll kind of say this in code word, but it's a multitude of different things. It's culture, it's IQ, it's heritage. All these things play a role, but yeah, there's a bunch of different issues, right? It's a two-tier justice system. There's so many different things that play into it. But I have a saying: around the blacks, never relax.
So then Myron goes into it's an IQ thing, and the question is often asked is, Myron, if there's an IQ thing, you are of African descent from the Sudan. Does that apply to you, or you're special and you're separate, right? Now, understand something. The racist groups of the W class, they will allow Myron to speak in this manner because he's speaking on behalf of them, and he's allowing this young W man to voice his frustration out loud. And it doesn't look as racist because Myron is not of their class, of their group, and he's echoing their same sentiments. So these are the new ways that they use. They'll find these people that can speak in a language in a manner in which they wish they could speak without being called out. And Myron is the Huckleberry. He's the one that's there to do it for them, right? But the young man wasn't finished in his crash out. He also said this.
The logical consequence of slavery is that, you have these people displaced in this country, and at the time, maybe the better choice should have been to just send them back to Africa. Because clearly they can't integrate in a proper society and live with us without just murdering each other in the streets. So it really kind of makes you think, well, now, it's baked in now. What can we do about it?
So what he's saying is the logical consequence of slavery is they should have just kept us there in Africa, or sent us back, or did these different things. But this is the thing that for a lot of the young men like this I would tell him to go study European history. Go study the history of your own people. See, you're frustrated because maybe you're suffering from the sins of your fathers, right? We had cities burned down like Rosewood, Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? The Elaine Massacre, right, in Arkansas. We had so many, the Texas Punch Bowl, right? We had so many different things that's happened here, right? For our fight for against racial discrimination, right? We went through 275 years of slavery. We had over 213 insurrections in this country, right? Another thing, the first drug dealers in this country were W folks. The first one running booze. The first gangs were W folks of different ethnic groups, right? Different nationalities. The first gangs in this country was them, right? The first raiders, or what I call pirates, that come to this country in the Caribbean were Europeans, right? The first Jack Sparrows. They were the ones that was not able to integrate within societies. Look what they did to the Native Americans, right? And then us, right? They was the ones not able to integrate into society. You know, we had a long march, and we were fighting all the way up into the 60s, into the 70s to get fair housing, right? We were fighting to get the Civil Rights Bill passed. These were your people. These were your descendants, your people. It's funny how like you speak in a manner in which you're speaking about us, right? But before we moved to these concrete jungles of the East Coast and the Midwest, the cities from the South, your people was doing the same thing. The murder rate was astronomical in Chicago in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, right? The murder rate was astronomical in St. Louis, Philadelphia, New York City. These weren't black folks. These were your people. Everything that you claim that we're doing, you guys did it first. No, we're not born with one less chromosome. We're not a special group. It's part of American culture and the way it's set up. Before they built Levittown, the Levy family, before they built the first suburbs in this country, you guys were doing the same thing in these ghettos. The 5 Points gang of New York City. All the first gangs didn't look like me. They came from your ilk. And you guys might have a billion body count damn near around the world. But for some reason, for the last 30 years, 30, 40 years, what we've been doing to each other, you put under a microscope. Because remember, you guys did it to us. We do it to each other, right? But what we've been doing to each other, you want to paint us as the worst people when you have a history of doing it to everybody. And to this day, you still haven't been re-educated. As a black person, when I walk around in a dominant white society, W society, I have no way of knowing if you're racist. I have no way of knowing if my employer is racist or have a preconceived notion based off of my skin. My skin is still my sin. I have no way of knowing if that judge is racist. I have no way of knowing. I just have to go within society. So you're not being oppressed because you don't have to deal with that. We do. Our image still hasn't been protected to the point where if it's 2025 and you can have a person like Myron come on here and say these disparaging things about black culture, then we have nothing on the books to protect us from all the things that we ever went through. So what happens is this young W boy is also a victim because he's miseducated. He doesn't know the true history of his own people and what they've done and all the policies and systems that was in place that caused economic deprivation within our community and our inability to redevelop ourselves over time. He has no knowledge of these things, right? And this is why we have to change the education system and educate the youth. But I'm going to cut this video short here. If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button. Subscribe to Street Media TV. Leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. And remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.